My crazy entitled grandmother tells me that I'm a sinner and that I need to be punished because of my attraction to women. Things got so bad that she tried to kick me out of my own apartment and attack me in the process. Here's what happened. So I'm 29 years old and I had been dealing with this for some time, but recently this became ridiculous. My grandmother is the most special person I have ever known. And with special, I mean she's one of the most frustrating, entitled, narcissistic, and condescending jerks on the planet. She believes that she is the matriarch of the family, the highest authority that we all must obey. And for that, she has done a lot of things to all of the family over the years. And recently, I became her main objective. A couple months ago, she organized a family meeting on her house. Believing it was just a family meal, we all went. And when everyone went there, she revealed her true intentions. It was a trap. Apparently, someone told my grandmother that I was dating a girl, my girlfriend, and basically she exposed me to all of the family. In that moment, I haven't even told my parents about it yet. The following 30 minutes were a non-stop humiliation in front of my entire family, saying to everybody that I was a failure and that I was a shame on the family as well as a sinner, and how embarrassed she was that all of her church friends knew about it as well. When I couldn't take her garbage anymore, I got up from my chair just to be slapped in the face by her for disrespecting her. After watching this happen, the rest of the family got involved, and I was getting pulled apart before she could pull my hair. The following weeks, she was nothing more than a constant headache. She would be giving me endless phone calls and text messages, telling me that I was apparently going to burn for my sins, and that I was a disgrace, that I should stop fooling around and correct my life. She even lectured my parents, demanding that they somehow correct me for my mistake. My grandmother even wants me to quit my job and find a husband, because apparently that was the right thing to do, and it's what I should be doing. Also, she took every chance she got to say how evil and selfish I was for ruining her good image. Last Saturday, she outdid herself. While I was in my apartment, there was a knock on the door, and when I opened it, I saw that it was her. By that point, I was no longer trying to hide my displeasure from her, and I just said, "Oh, it's you. What do you want?" Without being invited to come in, she went into my house and began to look around the place with an obvious gesture of disgust and disapproval, and then turned to look at me with that look of superiority, as if she was doing me a favor just to be there. She told me that she had already given me more than enough time to reconsider and correct my life. So she was basically there so that I could apologize to her. I just laughed sarcastically and told her that she was crazy and that she could go now. She then started lecturing me with the same speech again, but I did not take it this time. I interrupted her and let out all the things I've wanted to say to her for a long time. I told her that she was a stupid old witch that was absolutely not an authority figure to anyone, that her presence alone ruins our day, and that nobody can stand her. I told her that she is a horrible and suffocating grandmother and mother, that none of her children love her or will visit her unless they are forced to. At this point, I could tell that I hurt her feelings, because her face was tensing up in a way where I knew she was trying to hide back some tears. It was at that moment that she said,
"Enough! I can see that you don't understand the good way, so I will have to correct you the old way. Give me the keys to this place. You will return to your parents, and you will be grounded until you learn to obey and do what I order."
I still had the keys in my hand from when I opened the door, to which she extended hers, as if waiting for me to give them to her. And when she did that, I just laughed in her face. I literally laughed out loud. This was just too ridiculous that I couldn't take it seriously. And apparently that made her so mad that she lunged at me, trying to grab my keys. We struggled for a bit, screaming at each other. Things were falling out of place, and this crazy witch got to the point of digging her nails into my arms and biting my hands. Things were so bad and incredibly loud that a couple of neighbors went out to see what was going on. And of course, when my grandmother saw them, she started shouting that I was a thief and was trying to rob her house. Obviously, they didn't believe her because they were my neighbors and they knew me. They separated my crazy grandma from me, and when she saw that they did not believe her and that they would not obey her, she then threatened me by saying,
"Your parents will know about this."
And then she left in a huff. Since then, she had been telling everyone how I insulted her and violently attacked her. We all know her, and we all know that she is a liar. And she honestly just makes everyone's lives a lot harder. I'm surprised that story didn't end with, "and then I called the police." This lady straight up tried to steal your house and attacked you. I'm surprised you didn't call the police and report this. The original poster went on to say that they're going to buy cameras and place it around their property, especially since they know it's just a matter of time that she'll probably show up again, which honestly is probably the best thing to do, because this crazy grandma is absolutely absolutely unhinged. And if I were you, I would definitely look out and keep yourself safe, because who knows when she might try and come back and go after you. An entitled old woman demanded that I move my car when she was the one who parked so close and couldn't open her door. Things get pretty ridiculous. Here's what happened. So I was off work for my hour lunch break and eating in my car. I had gotten a burger and I was parked near the local supermarket just so I could eat in peace. But the store parking lot was super busy that day, so I would say about 80% of the spaces were full at least. But I didn't care. I just wanted to eat my burger in peace and watch YouTube on my phone. So I had just started eating when a beat up old sedan parked right next to me, and I honestly didn't think anything of it until there was a fast and loud knocking sound at my passenger window. This old woman had parked so close to my car that she could reach her bony hand over to my window and knock on it to get my attention. I rolled it down and she immediately started demanding that I move my car. I looked out my driver window and saw I was well within the lines, so she had encroached on me, which I blatantly told her. But no, she demanded that I reverse out so that she could open her door. And yes, she used the fact that she was old and feeble as an excuse. I looked at her and I told her not a chance, and she threatened to slam her door against mine if I didn't move my car. I said I'd be on the phone with the police the second she tries that. I then pointed out that the parking lot probably has cameras, so if she tried to damage my car in any way, I would have evidence to use against her. She looked at me with sheer hate in her eyes and just closed the window, but I just stared back the entire time while I was eating. Thankfully, I don't eat slow. After I was done, I decided I'd walk into the supermarket and buy a beverage to drink at work. It was an especially hot day, and having a cold drink in the office fridge waiting for me later really does help. I left my car and started heading into the store. The old woman started yelling at me to come back and move my car. I turned back and pointed out that she was parked over the line, meaning that she was parked illegally, and if police were involved, they'd cite her first for her bad parking. She yelled at me some more, but I just kept walking and ignored her. Well, she didn't like being ignored, so she quickly climbed out through her passenger door somehow and yelled at me that I have no respect for my elders. I said back to her that respect isn't earned by age, and she didn't deserve any with the way she was acting. She dramatically scoffed at me and gave me the classic line saying,
"How dare you?"
There were a few people watching at this point, and the old lady started yelling at them, saying that I was just a disrespectful jerk. But one person yelled at her to shut up and said that they had seen the entire thing. I didn't hear any more aside from yelling that I couldn't understand. As I was walking into the store, I was assuming that she would follow me inside just to try and make some more trouble, as I've seen that sort of thing happen before, but she didn't bother me again. A few minutes later, I came back with a whole case of bottled water, so I would keep one at a time in the fridge at work, and the entitled old lady's car was gone. Thankfully, when I checked the passenger side of my car, there was no damage. I don't know where she went, and honestly, I don't care, because I honestly believe that this lady was just roaming around trying to ruin someone else's day. How entitled do you have to be to park illegally and incorrectly, and then complain that the car you're parked next to is just a little too close to you? I mean, it's not that hard to kick it into reverse and correctly pull back into the parking spot. This lady clearly had some kind of chip on her shoulder and was looking to try and boss somebody around for some weird reason. So good for this original poster for standing up for themselves and deciding that no, they're not going to be bossed around by some weird entitled old lady. I found out that my boyfriend has been texting other women our entire relationship, and I am absolutely devastated and I don't know what to do. The title says it all. I found out that my boyfriend has been exchanging suggestive pictures, if you know what I mean, sending really naughty text messages, and suggesting meetups with other women all throughout the entire length of our relationship. We live together, but he works away most of the month and comes home for his days off. Sometimes I go to his job site to visit and stay with him for a few days. I found this all out by snooping on his phone, which is a total invasion of his privacy that I understand and I feel horrible about, but now I feel justified in this breach of trust. I didn't really think he was cheating like this, but I had a feeling something was off, as he's never been comfortable with me having his phone and seems to hide text messages and Snapchats from me specifically. I got curious and had an opportunity while he was sleeping this morning. I've never gone through his phone before today. Basically, what I found was saved Snapchat pictures, as well as videos from 3 different women, all of which he has worked with at different times in our relationship, ranging from videos and pictures that are just basically too disgusting to describe. I can't see if he reciprocated with pictures or videos of himself, as his responses aren't saved. I also found text messages where he invited women to come see him while he was working away, or text messages of him just straight up flirting with other women. but it didn't seem like any of them took him up on his offers. But who can really know what has or has not happened? These conversations and Snapchats go back as far as 2019, even before we started dating. Even as soon as last week, he was saving videos of girls doing other disgusting things that I honestly won't even begin to describe. This all happened this morning, and I've been working all day, and I didn't want to get into it before work. I saw him briefly this morning before I left, and he could tell something was off, as he kept asking if I was upset about something, but I just brushed it off as being tired. I know I have to confront him tonight after work, and I know I have to admit I snooped on his phone to reveal what I know, but I have no idea what to do going forward. This man was supposed to be someone I was going to be with forever. We've talked about kids and marriage, and we are extremely close to each other's families. Part of me wants to work things out, as I still don't know if he physically cheated, though I do consider the pictures and the videos to be just as bad. I feel horrible about myself, and had even told him how I was feeling insecure a few weeks ago, and he completely reassured me of our relationship despite what he was doing behind the scenes. I just feel completely numb, and I have no idea how this conversation will go. I have a huge family support system, and I know if things went bad and we broke up, I would have a place to go, and his family would support me too because of his actions. But I still can't imagine losing him and our life together. I also can't imagine having such little respect for myself and doing nothing about this. I feel like I don't even know who he really is anymore, and I'm second guessing our entire relationship. What should I do? This is a really bad situation because this guy has been cheating on this lady from the beginning. And let me help this original poster out. Yes, he has been cheating on you. Having those pictures and those videos on his phone, as well as having all those text messages, basically making all these suggestive comments and all that stuff, those all classify as cheating. He is going behind your back pursuing other women. So I don't blame you for being upset. I would be livid if I was in your situation. So I think it's time to take a solid look at your relationship and see if this is something you even want to be a part of. Because this is really sketchy behavior, and it's going to be really hard to try and make this relationship work out. I mean, how on earth could you prevent him from doing this in the future? Who's to say he wouldn't just do this on another device or on a phone you don't know about? Just because you caught him in the act this one time doesn't mean he won't do it again in the future. So hopefully you make the best decision for yourself, because based on what you've described, this honestly does not look good. My former relationship with my friend is falling apart, and I don't know how to let them go and move on with my life. So I've known this person for almost 3 years now. We were very good friends at first, and there was definitely something there. There was so much chemistry, and the conversation was never boring. We ended up dating for a while, but about 8 months later, he ended it, and we were just friends after that. For a while, we were still fooling around, but I put a stop to that since January of this year. I really fell for this guy, and I would go as far as to say that I love him, and that's not a word I use lightly by any means. When he stopped dating me, I honestly felt like my world collapsed. Since January, as I've said, we've been platonic friends. Everything's good, but he does tend to lose his cool on me and get easily annoyed, but nothing dramatic. He doesn't shout, but he does raise his voice, and it makes me feel like garbage. He doesn't do this with his other friends, although I would say he is genuinely just a grumpy person. He told me it's because he's comfortable with me and trusts me not to walk out on him, so basically he shows me his true self. Today I spoke to him about his attitude, and we had a civil discussion for the most part. I was just asking him to be talked to with more respect, and he basically tells me that he agrees that he is rude to me and can work on it, but if he has to change that, then our relationship overall will have to change as well, and we won't be as close as we used to be. So I either put up with him being rude when he wants to be if I want to remain close friends, or he doesn't be rude and he'll shut me off emotionally, so we wouldn't be as close anymore at all. He's made it clear he means no disrespect and doesn't mean to make me feel bad when he gets annoyed, but to him, it's just him expressing his emotions to someone that he trusts. And at this point, I've realized that he's not willing to change. I literally said, so what I'm getting from this is that you're saying that I know I'm rude to you, and I can't argue that I can do better, but I don't want to. Not for you at least. And his response was, I think that's fair because you're not my girlfriend or wife. I'll stop raising my voice with you, but that's not gonna come easily. And don't be surprised if some other things change as a result. I realize I need to get him out of my life, and this really will impact me. I know I'll fall into a deep depression and I will be miserable. I hope my university work isn't affected, but I can't keep someone like this in my life. How do I go about doing this? Should I just learn to get over him and go little to no contact, and then once I feel better, unfriend him on all social media? Or should I just unfriend him now and then work on getting used to that? I've tried this before and I went into a huge meltdown. I don't have many people in my life and not many close friends or people my own age. I'm not comfortable around many people like I am around him. him. I just know that this could really impact me with my mental health. What should I do? It doesn't sound like this guy's a very nice person. Like, you say that he's your friend, but he definitely is not acting like it. He's basically saying, oh, I'll stop being rude to you, but as a result, we can't be friends anymore, which is a really strange way to act towards someone. And I can understand that maybe sometimes you need to vent to a friend just to try and get your emotions off your chest. But it sounds like he's taking this to such an extreme that instead of just venting how he's feeling, in all actuality, he's just being verbally abusive towards you. So I don't blame you for speaking up and saying, hey, you need to change this. And I really wouldn't trust what he's saying either. He's saying that, yeah, I'll change, but I won't talk to you anymore. But in reality, I don't think he's going to change at all. I think his way of changing his behavior is by literally cutting you out of his life. And that's not fair for you in any way, shape, or form. You can honestly find better friends than this, because this guy sounds incredibly abusive. So if I was in your shoes, I would be going to find some kind of friend group that I can attach to that doesn't include this guy, because he sounds obnoxiously rude, and you could do so much better than that. My job has me overworked and understaffed, as I'm the only person in my position that can do my job, and I'm at a crossroads where I really just want to quit, but I'm honestly not sure what to do. For context, I used to work at a restaurant with the most awful boss. She was rude, condescending, she would micromanage me, and somehow didn't know how to run her own restaurant, so her staff had to clean up the mess that she left behind every night. I worked there for 6 years before I moved states. I now work in a similar restaurant and have been there for almost 2 years. Now at this restaurant, there are 3 people that work front of house. Myself, my manager, and another girl who works a full-time job elsewhere and works once a week at the restaurant. The boss, who expedites in the kitchen, is going to her home country for 2 months, so my manager will be temporarily taking my boss's role. So that means I'll be the only person running the front of house for the time being. This restaurant seats around 65 to 70 people, possibly more depending on how many bookings there is that night. I'm Australian, so we don't have dedicated food runners, bartenders, people to bust the food or to clean up any of the dishes. That responsibility falls on my shoulders. All of this on top of having to take people to their tables and taking care of takeout orders. It is honestly a nightmare, but it's the only job flexible around my schedule and day job. I've been begging my manager to hire someone else for months, especially now that I'm going to be the only one who runs the front of house for the next 2 months. So instead of hiring someone else, the boss decided to call in one of her friends. She's nice enough, but once she starts working, she gives me flashbacks of my old job before moving and somehow morphs into my old awful boss. It's twice as bad too, since she worked at a restaurant like 10 years ago, and it's honestly changed a lot since then. So for one night, she becomes my demanding new boss, whose mistakes I also have to fix throughout the night. Once in a while, it's fine, but now as I work 6 days a week and for 2 months, I'm genuinely thinking of quitting. If I quit, I'll put the restaurant in a bad position. They won't have a waitress, which I know isn't my fault because I've been telling them to hire new people for months, but my conscience won't be able to handle it. But I will be absolutely miserable and resentful every time I go to work. It's honestly also affecting my performance, and I feel bad about not giving 100% to customers. I don't rely on tips, but I want the business to succeed. I've got the week off to visit my sister, which I planned months in advance, so it's giving me some time to figure out my situation, because honestly, I don't know what to do. Your job sounds really stressful. Not only do you have to run the front of house and try and get people in and out in a timely manner, but you are also literally carrying like 5 other jobs on your back on top of doing that. And you're the only person doing that. That sounds absolutely crazy to me. This place can seat up to 70 people in total. That is way too much for one person to handle. I don't blame you for a second for saying, you know what, I might not want to work here anymore. And you know what, in my opinion, if you can find a better job that'll better suit your needs, then by all means kick this one to the curb. You don't owe these people anything. Like, I really don't think you're the first person to quit this job just to find something that's going to give you some kind of peace of mind. So this is honestly not a you problem. This is a management problem. You are being overworked and probably underpaid as well. And that's not fair for you at all. So in my opinion, it's time to look for a better job. And I would not feel bad about this in the slightest, because based on what you've described, your job sucks. And I cannot imagine trying to run all of that all by yourself. That's completely ridiculous, and you can find something so much better than that. My mother ruined my 21st birthday, and I'm honestly still angry over this situation. It's been 5 years since this happened, but I was thinking about the situation, and it still upsets me to this day. Way back in the year of 2017, I was just turning 21, and my mom, who was 39 at the time, begrudgingly decided to come visit me at my university. Now, I'm on the autism spectrum, and I have severe anxiety, and major depressive disorder. I take medication and it helps a lot, but I have gained a lot of weight on these pills. And back then, I had just started to get heavier. My mom steps off her flight and gives me a hug, and then makes a comment about how heavy I look in my winter coat. So we were off to a great start. She had thrown a fit a day earlier because I took my grandparents, who arrived a day earlier than her, to see my dorm room, claiming that she has the right to see it first, whatever that means. The next day, we were going out for family dinner, which included my mom, myself, and my grandparents. And my mom threw a fit when I invited my boyfriend because apparently she wanted to see me without him being present. And just as a side note, I spent all day at the markets with just her. It's not like she hadn't spent any alone time with me. Anyways, after the meal, she told me that my boyfriend was fat and claimed that he needed to learn manners when he ate in front of people, all because she didn't like the fact that he ate the pizza crust that I didn't eat. I mean, I don't eat the pizza crust anyways, so I just offered it to him, but whatever. The next day, she then commented on my weight again, basically mocking my double chin, which was just really insulting, as I knew I was heavier at the time, and I didn't need her commenting on it. She also made some snide remark about how my feet smelled, and this was all after I took my shoes off after walking around with her all day in the city for 5 hours. Eventually, that night, we went out to have dinner with my friends to celebrate my birthday. My grandfather offered to pay the bill for all my friends, but my mother butt in and said, no, he's not gonna do that. I'm gonna pay for everything. Which was fine, sure, go for it. But then, after paying for everybody's meal, she went insane and started to say that my friends were cheap and low, and that they had basically scammed her for a meal, which is honestly just completely ridiculous, because my grandfather easily could have paid for the meal, but she demanded to do it instead. After that, she canceled the rest of our activities, all because apparently she couldn't afford them after coughing up so much money for our dinner. The next night was the night before my actual birthday, and I invited my boyfriend over for dinner again, as I just wanted him to get along with my mom. After he left, she started ripping into me, claiming that apparently it was her birthday too, because she raised me as a single mother and that my boyfriend was not welcome. She told me that if she knew I got fat, lazy, and rude at university, she would have never let me go, and is tempted to drag me on a flight home. At this point, I just burst into tears and cried myself to sleep. When my birthday actually did come around, nothing got any better, and in fact, all she did was complain the entire time, and it honestly just spoiled everything. She then finally got on a flight on the last day and went home, but after the way she acted, I'm honestly glad to just be away from her. Your mom sounds like an absolute mess. She sounds like one of those parents that no matter how you act or what you do, it simply will never be good enough. She doesn't love you, she doesn't care about you, she is only in it for herself, and is constantly only looking for some reason to complain about someone, and that's just not fair for you. So hopefully one day you can reclaim that 21st birthday and have some kind of celebration to make up for the terrible birthday that your mom ruined, because your mom does not sound like a good person, and I honestly think you could do a lot better in life with her not being present. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description, and the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.